morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So I lean on you when I've lost my way. I keep holding on for a better day. I lean on you when the world's astray. I left my heart open so you hear my prayer. I left my heart open so you hear my prayer. In times that are changing and when hope is fading, I know I can turn to your embrace. 'Cause there's so much beauty under your heaven, and I'm grateful every day. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So I lean on you when I've lost my way. I keep holding on for a better day. I lean on you when the world's astray. I left my heart open so you hear my prayer. I left my heart open so you hear my prayer. I lean on you and I've lost my way. I keep holding on for a better day. I lean on you when the world's astray. I left my heart open so you hear my prayer. I left my heart open so you hear my
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to welcome Michelle on panel tonight. She has been an awesome help when it comes to my uncle's case. And I want to welcome everybody that's in chat. Hello, Allie, Chatty, CK Creations. Thank you all for being here. And anybody else that may be in the bushes. Something strange happened today. Most of you may already know, but first of all, can you hear me okay?
You sound good
Can
to
you
me.
hear me, Michelle? Okay.
Yeah, you sound good.
Put a 1 in chat if the audio is all right to you all as well. But most of you already know that when it came to getting the FOIA for my uncle's case, it was like pulling teeth. Michelle knows this firsthand. She was the one that actually was able for me to get my hands on the transcripts. Okay. And we've all wondered, is this all there is? Today, an unusual thing happened, and I didn't even know it happened until I was going back into my email looking for something else. Y'all, KSP sent me more of their records. We are going to go over a couple things that stood out with me today from the transcripts. We are going to do that. But out of the blue, I did not request. Let me make this real clear. I did not request any more FOIAs. They sent what they sent, which didn't seem complete to me. But then out of the blue, today I get a FOIA. And in this FOIA, it's not just Officer McKnight's notes. Now, if you watched a few episodes back, Duchess was on my channel along with Michelle and Arctic when we were reading the transcripts. Duchess read the notes, the officer's notes from Officer McKnight. It looks like today I got Officer Barnett's. And give me just a second. I'll share my screen, give y'all a little idea of what I'm talking about here, because if I seem floored, it's because I am floored. I'm very floored. Can you see the screen, Michelle?
Yes.
Now, there is some things that, are repetitive. But, like, right here, this tells me this isn't McKnight's notes. It says, Miss Crawford proceeded to tell us what had took place and that Marlo Brock had shot Ball Abner. While Trooper McKnight was taking her statement, I contacted, and it's redacted here, but that's Jeff, and interviewed him. So this is not McKnight. We're going to go over some of these notes, but something that wasn't in the other one is right here. They've drawn a huge diagram. This is the graveyard. Okay. We didn't have this before, did we, Michelle?
No, we didn't. And it doesn't match what everyone has said either.
No, it don't. It doesn't. Because right here, for example, is where they're saying my uncle's car was parked. They're saying Marlo's vehicle was parked sideways here. Now, this is a diagram from 1987. Back then, this headed up into the hills. This headed up towards the cemetery, which is a very steep hill. This line right here would have been the fence that was there back then, because there was a gate like right along this area. And it says there's a large cedar right here in the corner of the fence. Now, there's something I want to show you all, because not all my family is buried up there. This is not my family cemetery, but my sister is buried up there. And let me just show you how steep this mountain is. Now, as most of you can recall, I injured my leg. I was not able to climb this hill. My friend went up and put in these little snowmen on my sister and her grandchild's grave. So this will just give you a somewhat idea. Okay. That's the mountain, y'all, and it's straight down. It's straight down. And you can see there is a ditch right along here. This back then was cut off. This did not go up here. They recently added that not too long back. That way they could back a hearse up in there for when people were needing to be put on this cemetery, because it was a lot of trouble packing them straight up the mountain. So if you cut this off right here, they're saying he was parked right here and that Uncle Ball was right here. Please remember that. Just a second, because we're going to go through these, and I'm gonna read this to you all. I think I lost Michelle. It's snowing. If signal knocks us out, I do apologize, y'all. Hey, Heidi. Hey, Nikki. Michelle, if you're able to, honey, just jump back up and I'll add you on here. Let's look at. Okay. I think it is only appropriate, since I have mentioned these documents that have been sent to me now, to just go ahead and read them. I'll do the entire screen. Okay, let's go back up here. Some things I want you to keep in mind is these times. Okay. And why it says investigation continue. Did it start down here? Okay. Okay. Right here. September 11th, 1987 at, that would be 7:10, 0000 hours. Trooper McKnight asked me via radio to meet with him at the RECC building. I contacted him there, and he advised me he had just talked with Chuck Johnson and Robert Crawford on the phone, and had been advised that Otis Ball Abner had possibly been shot and left at the Nan Riley Cemetery at Hammonds Fork. 027 hours, which is 27 minutes later, after 12 o'clock midnight, y'all. We left the RECC building going to the cemetery at 12:48. We arrived at the cemetery and found a blue Dodge passenger car parked without any lights on. We flooded the vehicle with lights and observed Otis Ball Abner sitting on the driver's side with the windows rolled down and head laying over on his right shoulder. Further examination found Abner had what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the left side of the head. After the Knox County coroner, Jerry Garland, was called, we examined the scene for evidence. A 20-gauge Winchester Western number 5 shot spent shell was located near the left rear wheel of the vehicle in which Abner was in. A rolled cigarette was found out from the driver's door of the vehicle. A partially full 16-ounce Budweiser beer can was found. It's saying 17 feet here, from the left rear of the vehicle. Searching further inside the vehicle was several empty beer cans in the right front floorboard, along with a pair of clear plastic ladies' shoes and an open pack of generic brand cigarettes. On the dashboard was a box of 16-gauge shotgun shells, a Barberville Advocate newspaper, and an unopened pack of generic brand cigarettes. Sitting between Abner's legs was a partially full 16-ounce Budweiser beer. In the back seat was a cap laying on the right side, and in the floorboard was another cap with blood on it. There was pieces of skull and brain matter on the roof of the vehicle and on the right rear door of the windows, as well as the right front. All the windows were up except for driver's window. Of the 4 doors, only 2 would open, the driver's door and the right rear door. After collecting the evidence and photographing and diagramming the scene, the body was removed to Knox County Hospital. The vehicle was towed to Smith's Body Shop. Trooper McKnight and I proceeded to Chuck Johnson's residence at the time, 9/11/87, which is 2:47 in the morning. Trooper McKnight interviewed Chuck Johnson alone, then advised me that he, Johnson, had stated that Robert Crawford had come to his house and told him, now remember that Robert Crawford had came to his house and told him that his mother had came home with blood on her and told that Ball Abner had been shot. Johnson had further stated that the Crawfords were going to tell us that Miss Crawford did not know who shot Abner, when in fact she did know. Johnson also advised that they would try to hide the fact that Miss Crawford's son, Jeff, was along when the shooting took place. Chuck Johnson advised that Robert had told him that Miss Crawford had said that Marlo Brock had shot Ball Abner. We contacted Robert Crawford, which is Jean's other son, y'all. Robert is Jeff's brother, and his mother, Jean Crawford, and was told by Jean that she and Ball went to the Nan Riley Cemetery to steal some pot. When they arrived, they sat there in the car for a few minutes, and she heard a shot and felt stuff hitting her in the face. She then exited the vehicle and ran down to the main road and caught a ride with an unknown subject who brought her to Robert's house. After several attempts to get the truth out of Miss Crawford, we talked to Robert Crawford, explaining how important it was for his mother to tell us the truth. He, Robert, then went back into the house and told her being Jean, to tell us the truth, that we already knew most of it anyway. Miss Crawford proceeded to tell us what had took place and that Marlo Brock had shot Ball Abner. While Trooper McKnight was taking her statement, I contacted Jeff and interviewed him. In his statement, he states that he had got with Marlo Brock early on September the 10th of 87 and was with him all day. They had gone to several places in Bull Creek and Manchester, then came back to Ball Abner's house that evening after sitting around drinking some beer and eating supper. Marlo told him and Ball that he knew were, just a second. After sitting around drinking some beer and eating supper, Marlo told him and Ball that he knew where they could go and steal some pot. After plans were made, he, Jeff, and Marlo left in Marlo's car and Ball and Jeff and Marlo, and Jean left in Ball's car. He and Marlowe got to the cemetery first and parked. Then Ball and Jean came up and parked. At this point, he had rolled a cigarette and got out of the car, went to Ball and asked for a light. While Ball was hunting for a lighter, he went back to Marlowe's car to get his beer. At this point, he hears a shot and looks around to see Marlowe loading another shell into a shotgun and sees Ball has been shot. Jeff yells, "Let's get out of here," and helps get his mother out of Ball's car into Marlowe's car, and Marlowe drove them home. On the way home, Marlowe makes the statement that Ball had it coming. Okay. Now, do y'all remember where that diagram said his vehicle was? Right here we go. The diagram that I was sent today that I did not previously had. Let's see here. Right here is Marlowe's vehicle. Not back here where Jean had testified at, y'all. Not back here around the fence line. But right here. The arrows is the front of the vehicle. Uncle Ball's is heading back down the cemetery. Marlowe's is parked here, which would put the driver's side door here and the passenger side here. So what this officer just said was that Jeff comes over here, asks for a light. Uncle Ball's looking for it. He goes back towards this vehicle to get his beer and hears a shotgun go off. He turns around, he sees Marlowe, shot Ball, and he's reloading to shoot him again. Okay? But let's keep in mind, right here is where they said they were parked. How do you walk back to this vehicle and not see somebody packing the gun? Even if it was in the trunk right here, you're going to see them getting it out. But what do we know was found there? Shotgun shell. Right here at the rear tire on the driver's side. A rolled cigarette. 4 feet from the driver's door. Who had the rolled cigarette? Jeff did. According to him, he also had that can of beer. But I ask you, if you throw a half full beer can and a cigarette, which one's going further? I would say that cigarette has more of an accuracy of being where he was at actually when that gun went off. Now, in these notes, it says, let me see here, that it looked like that Uncle Ball had been shot from the front of the vehicle. Keep in mind, right here's where, in this diagram, you can see it. When Lori came on my panel, a theory that we had, if he was killed in this car, and I want you all to hold on to that, was what if Jeff was just getting his attention? Because again, Uncle Ball would have seen somebody walking from there too if they were packing a gun. Oh yeah, Dutchie, he was. But even a better question, you all. I sent that FOIA in August. Why did they wait till today to send me more documents? I've not done another FOIA. Well, maybe, Crystal, maybe it took them that long to get Officer Barnett's notes. No, because there's some pages on here that I have seen before. So that tells me it was tacked right in with the other one. But these are not the notes that Duchess read on my channel. Those notes didn't even have a diagram of that cemetery. But let's see what Chuck has to say, shall we? Just a second. Bear with me, you all. And before we move on to Chuck, one other thing. Do y'all remember how they just described that vehicle? Brain matter and passenger seat. Floorboard full of beer cans. There is a beer can. They did say the headrest looked like that it had been wiped clean, but skull and brain matter on the roof of the vehicle. Do we see that? I don't know about you all, but I can only believe what I see, and that ain't what I see in these pictures. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay. Now, before I go on, I want to make sure that we got it established. The officer gets up there around 12. They estimated Uncle Ball was killed somewhere between the vicinity of 11:45 and 12 o'clock. But let's hear what Chuck testifies to. Let's hear what he has to say. Would you state your name for the record, please? Chuck Johnson. And Mr. Johnson, where do you live? Cannon. Whereabouts in Cannon? Cannon Lake. Cannon Lake. Do you know Gene Crawford, Jeff Crawford, and Robert Crawford? Yes, I do. How do you know these three individuals? They're friends of mine. That's a key right there. Did they live close to you? Right, neighbors, yeah. Pardon me? They're neighbors. Do all three of them live real close to you? Yeah. Did you know these three individuals on September the 10th, 1987? Yes, I did. And did you have an occasion to talk to Mr. Robert Crawford on that date? Yes. Now, before we go any further, didn't that officer's notes just say that Robert went to Chuck's house and told him that Bob Abner had been shot? That his mom showed up with blood all over? Put a 1 in the chat if that's what you heard. because I know dang straight that's what I read. If I can remember correctly, I think Michelle said they wouldn't send anything for you. And then Crystal had, yes, I had to run to the courthouse to get all this started. And then when Michelle tried to do a FOIA with KSP, even though she had just got a FOIA on the redheaded murders from the same county in Kentucky, they told her she had to live here. Okay, let's go on. Could you tell us the facts and circumstances? And y'all, I believe words mean things. Could you tell us the facts and circumstances around why you were talking to Mr. Crawford? Now, keep in mind, this is Jeff's older brother, Robert, that he's talking to. No answer. Did he ask to use your telephone? Well, yeah. Why did he ask to use your phone? Someone been killed there. Well, wait, surely that don't say that, does it? Someone been killed there. Where? You're just saying there. Maybe we'll get a hint as the way he speaks, though. And he pauses. That's what these little things mean. Well, I rode up on my horse during all this time. And Jeff, what time was this? It was about 10:30 or 11, I guess. And Jeff came out of the house there. I rode up on my horse. Jeff came out of the house and said Bob'd been killed at 10:30. Whoa, wait a minute. Jeff knew Uncle Bob was killed an hour and 15 minutes before he actually was. Said Bob Abner. Yes, said Bob been killed, and Morlode killed him, and they didn't want to call the law. Mr. Robinson, Judge, before. First I told them he's continuing to talk. First I told them they'd better. Mr. Robinson, could you wait just a second, please? Before he starts telling what other people have testified to, I think that would be hearsay. What was Mr. Robinson scared that he was going to say right here? Let's back up. Maybe he done said too much. First of all, in the officer's notes, that morning, they said Robert came to his house to use his phone, right? Said his mom showed up covered in blood, said Bob had been killed. He showed up at his house to use the phone. Okay, could you tell us the facts of the circumstances around why you were talking to Mr. Crawford? He gave no answer. Did he ask you to use your telephone? I would think it would be leading, but anyway. Well, yeah. Why did he ask to use your phone? Someone been killed there. And I rode up on my horse during all of this. And Jeff, what time was that? It's about 10:30 or 11. I think you can get the point on that. And of course, the court says, objection sustained on what somebody else told you. They'll have to come into the court and tell what they said or saw. You tell what you know about it, what you saw, and you're not to tell what you heard. Back to that witness. Well, I didn't see anything or anything like that, you know. Well, you came by their house. What? Their house? You mean they didn't come by his? Well, you came by their house. Right. And then at the point when after all this had happened, he answers with going on. This was all going on. And I know Thomas McKnight there, and I called him, and he said he'd go check it out. And 2 or 3 hours later, he came up to the house, and everything was the way, the way they said it. No, I thought we weren't supposed to be using what other people say. He goes by their house when all this was going on. Well, that's what he said on the stand, Dutchie. That's not what the officer's notes said. The officer's notes that I got today said on September the 11th, 1987, at 12:10 hours, Trooper McKnight asked me via radio to meet with him at the RECC building. I contacted him there, and he advised me he had just talked with Chuck Johnson and Robert Crawford on the phone and had been advised that Otis Ball Abner had possibly been shot and left at the Nan Riley Cemetery in Hams's Fort. At 12:27 hours, we left the RECC building going to the cemetery. At 12:48, we arrived at the cemetery and found a blue Dodge passenger's car parked without any lights on. We flooded the vehicle with lights and observed Otis Ball Abner sitting in the driver's side with his window rolled down. And it goes on to tell what all they found there. Then in this one, again, somehow Marlo got out of this vehicle and shot Uncle Ball from the front, not the back, but from the front, without anybody seeing it. By his left ear. Let's see here. But what did Chuck tell this officer? Trooper McKnight interviewed Chuck Johnson alone, then advised me that he, Johnson, had stated that Robert Crawford had came to his house and told him that his mother had come home with blood on her and told that Ball Abner had been shot. Johnson had further stated that the Crawfords were going to tell us that Miss Crawford did not know who shot Abner, when in fact she did know. But when he gets on the stand, he's on a horse at night, about 10:30 or 11. Let's take this on to this point right here. Let me see here. Call your first witness, Trooper McKnight. Let's see what he says here. because they're already talking hearsay before you even get started. But would you state your name for the record, please? Thomas McKnight. And Officer McKnight, what is your profession? I'm sorry, sir. What is your profession? I'm a trooper with the Kentucky State Police. How long have you been a trooper? Approximately 11 years. And as a Kentucky State Police officer, what are your duties? I'm assigned to patrol Knox County and Harlan Post. Have you been patrolling Knox County the whole 11 years that you've been a state trooper? No, sir, I've not. How long have you been in Knox County? Off and on since March of 1980. Were you called on September the 10th, 1987 concerning a possible shooting in Knox County, Kentucky? Yes, sir, I was. And would you tell us the facts surrounding that? Dispatcher notified me by the radio that I had a phone call and an individual had wanted me to proceed to the phone so he could patch us together. I went to the RECC building and was patched with this individual. Didn't hear that last. I went to the RECC building and was patched with the individual that requested to talk to me. Now, who is this individual? Chuck Johnson, Robert Crawford. Okay, who was the individual? Charles Johnson. And did he give you certain information that led you to a shooting that had occurred in Knox County? Yes, sir, he did. Where was this shooting supposed to have occurred? Mr. Johnson advised me that possibly Ball Abner, they called him Ball Abner, was what I knew him by as, was possibly shot and was possibly at the Nan Riley Cemetery located in Hammond's Fork area. And did this prompt you to go to the cemetery? Yes, sir. After I talked to Mr. Johnson, and yes, sir. After I talked with Mr. Johnson and also with Robert Crawford, who was there at Charles Johnson's house, Trooper Barnett and I proceeded to the Nan Riley Cemetery. So where did he go first? Barnett just stated they went to the cemetery and then went to Robert's house. So did they go to Robert's house and then to the cemetery? And what did you find once you reached the cemetery? I found a vehicle occupied by Otis Ball Abner, parked at the cemetery parking lot. And had Mr. Abner been shot? Yes, sir. He had a wound, what appeared to be a shotgun wound to the left side of his head. Would you tell us the facts or the area as you found it, where Mr. Abner was and the details of the car? The car was positioned heading down the hill, about centerways of the parking lot. Mr. Abner was sitting behind the driver's, he pauses, behind the steering wheel on the driver's side. His left hand was on the steering wheel, lower part of the steering wheel. His head was laying on his right shoulder. He had what appeared to be a shotgun wound to the left temple, the temple area above the ear. He was clad in blue jeans, a blue button-up shirt, and boots. I want y'all to remember that. Anyways, he had a partially empty beer can between his legs. The driver's window was down. Everything's consistent right now. All the rest of the windows of the vehicle were up. Only doors that I could get open in the vehicle was the right rear of the passenger side rear door. Do you have any opinion at the time after seeing the victim of what kind of gun had been used to shoot him? Yes, sir. Due to the wound, it appeared to have been a shotgun wound. Also, I observed a 20 gauge shotgun hole lying approximately 9 inches from the left rear tire of the vehicle. From looking at the car where the victim was positioned, could you tell approximately where the individual who had shot Mr. Abner had been standing? Yes, sir. I estimate Mr. Abner had been shot at very close range, and the predator had shot him standing by the driver's door. This was an estimation. Okay, your testimony about your opinion that it was a shotgun fired from a close range where Mr. Abner was located, where in relation to the car. Did you take photographs of the scene that night? Yes, sir. On September the 10th? Yes, sir, I did. Did you have photographs of this particular aspect? Yes, I do. We saw those photos. And then, of course, he goes on to tell he knows. Are they here? Yes, sir, they are. Where? In my briefcase. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Court, yes. I have these 2 photographs. Trooper McKnight, can you identify those photographs as photographs that you took that night? Yes, sir, I can. Does this depict the scene as you found it when you arrived at the cemetery? Yes, sir. It depicts Mr. Abner? Yes, sir, it does. This is the victim, Mr. Abner? That is correct. And of course, they go into a whole backwards and forwards peeing contest here. We've read these before. But Jerry Garland, I think his time of death should be pretty important here. State your name, please. Jerry Garland. Mr. Garland. Now remember, this is the only Knox County person that worked. The only county person that worked this case. From Jump Street, it was KSP. Mr. Garland, are you the coroner for Knox County? Yes, sir, I am. As a coroner of Knox County, what are your duties? My duties are to determine how and why someone died. Do you pronounce a person as deceased? Yes, sir, I do. That's part of your duties. If you're called to a scene of an accident or a crime or a death, then you have the obligation, or as part of your job duties, you determine whether or not they're dead and pronounce such. That is correct. Were you contacted on September the 10th or maybe after midnight of that night, which would make it closer to September 11th, to come to a cemetery in Woolham, Kentucky? Yes, sir, I was. And who contacted you? Post 10, Kentucky State Police at Harlan. Do you recall approximately what time they contacted you? Yes, sir. If you don't care, just a moment. I've got it written down. I'll have to find what time that was. Approximately 1 p.m. Now you know why I want to know if they went to the cemetery first, right? Or did they go to Robert's house first? Because they said both first. Okay, approximately 1 p.m. on the, he pauses, that would have been on the 11th. And did you, in fact, go to this cemetery? Yes, sir, I did. And once you arrived at the cemetery, did you meet Trooper McKnight and Trooper Barnett? Yes, sir, I did. Did they inform you that they had a vehicle there that they thought was, that they had a victim there that they thought was deceased? Yes, sir. And did you, in fact, investigate and look at this victim and perform your duties? I did. Would you explain to the jury basically what you did once you arrived there and realized that there was a victim there that appeared to be dead? Well, it was very obvious once that I viewed the body that there wasn't any life present. and I pronounced Mr. Abner dead at the scene. What led you to that conclusion? Is it okay if I explain what I seen? Mr. Bingham, yes. Whatever your investigation revealed and led you to. The top of the skull was missing, and by some means of a blast or being struck with something, at that time we didn't know for sure what, but there was brain material scattered throughout the vehicle, an awful lot of fluid and blood. So it was very obvious that there was no life there. Again, not one time have we saw what everybody else describes. And did you at this time pronounce the victim dead? Yes, sir, I did. Did you determine who the victim was? Yes, sir. And who was the victim that you pronounced dead? The victim was Otis Ball Abner, age 52. Did you make a determination of how the death? Answer, yes, sir. I also ordered an autopsy for the victim, but Mr. Robinson. Judge, the results of the autopsy, that the person who performed the autopsy is present, the court, Mr. Bingham. Your Honor, as part of the duties of the coroner, as I understand it, he testified, the coroner makes some type of determination, as least in his opinion, as to what he thinks caused the death. I'm not, Mr. Robinson goes back. Okay, just in your opinion, Mr. Garland, what you thought at the time you investigated. Well, I figured he died from a penetrating gunshot wound to the head. Mr. Bingham, okay, I think that's all the questions I have. I thought for sure he was the one that told what time. Okay, let me do this. Okay. Trooper McKnight. See what he says here. This, you all, was what I received from KSP the first time. As you can see along the sides, I had Dutch read that. Let me see what he says he did on that day after. Okay. Now, also remember, oh, I know what I'm looking for. Give me just a second. I've got to bring this off here. Hello, Chico. Okay. Now I know where I got to look at it at. Give me just a second. Officer McKnight's grand jury statement. Give me. Okay. Is this it? That's one we're going to go over, but not tonight. Let me see here. Let me see, is this it? Okay, found it. Thank you all for being patient with me. Okay. Okay. Whoa. I had it found. Give me just a second here. No crap. Give me just a moment, y'all. I do apologize. There we go. Okay. Now I can't zoom in on this one because of the way I've got it pulled up here. But Commonwealth. Okay. State your name for the record, please. Inaudible. And who do you appear against in, and remember, this is the grand jury. In this case, Trooper Marlo Brock. What's the charge? Murder. When did this occur? June, and then it goes September the 10th, 1987. Okay, tell us what happened. State the victim's name first of all. Otis Randall Abner. Otis Randall Abner. Okay, go ahead. Approximately midnight on the 10th, I received a call from an individual that there had possibly been a shooting at the Inaudible Cemetery. Trooper Barnett and I arrived at the scene, and there was a vehicle sitting at the cemetery parking lot, occupied by Otis Randall Abner. He had one gunshot wound to the left side of his head. Okay. He's in the automobile? Yes, sir. He's sitting in the driver's seat, the left hand on the steering wheel, and a 16-ounce Budweiser beer between his legs. He received one round of apparent shotgun blast to the side of his head, including the ear and above the ear. He was shot at close range, approximately inaudible, and powder burns on the left side of his face. Left side of his head? Yes, sir. Like the person doing the shooting was right outside the door or near the car. He was shot in the vehicle. The driver's window was down and the three other windows were up. The passenger door would not unlock from the outside, and the left rear would not unlock from the outside, would not open from the outside. We collected physical evidence, photographs, diagrams, and proceeded at the location where I had received the call. What did he say? Where's he at there first? He's at the cemetery. Then he proceeds to where he got the call from, who in turn directed us to where Mrs. Jean Crawford. No one was there with the car and the body. No, sir, no one was there. Could you tell us about how long he had been dead? He was still warm. I'd say we arrived at, I think it was 12:48 a.m. I received the call at 12:25, and he was shot in the neighborhood or right around midnight. Did y'all hear that? I received the call at 12:25, and he was shot in the neighborhood of right around midnight. He also states right here that he was warm. Okay, and back to this. Give me just a second because I don't want to show all of that. Let me see. Okay. Now, because I don't want this forgot. Could you tell the facts? This is talking to the person that called that trooper. Could you tell us the facts and circumstances around why you were talking to Mr. Crawford? No answer. Did he ask you to use your telephone? Yeah. Well, yeah. Why did he ask to use your phone? Someone been killed there. And I rode up on my horse during all of this. And Jeff, what time was this? It's about 10:30 or 11. How can it be that, y'all? How can it be that? And even more so, how do you get from this vehicle to this vehicle and not be seen? Anybody got an answer for that? Because I don't. Not at all. How do you get from here to here? And that was a warrant for Morrow's arrest. I'm just looking at this. Location. Okay. That we've also read. Oh, if anybody wants to come up, you're welcome. I hope this hasn't been confusing. I hope I've not been all over the place with this. But like I said, I got the first FOIA back in August. Why out of the blue would they just send more records? It makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. We get a description of brains on the ceiling. We get a description of brain matter in the passenger seat of the vehicle. Caps that's got blood on them in the bag. Well, that's not what I saw. It's not what I see at all right here, actually. I don't see brains on the ceiling. I actually see it barely. And all over this door. Remember those notes? That brain matter and blood was all over the passenger's door and window. Do you see that? I don't. Again, my uncle was a tall man. I don't think he was driving this vehicle. Or if he was, somebody moved that seat up. But this is not what they described. Hey, Allie. What do you all think? Does it make any sense to you all? How was they calling and saying that Uncle Ball was killed at 10:30 if he wasn't killed till 11:48 or 11:45? Crystal, I feel your uncle is telling you something. I know your uncle is proud of you to bring justice. Well, let me show you one more thing in this, Chico. Sadly, my family probably will never have justice. But awareness, if I can't get justice, I'll take it. Okay, let me see here. Okay. I said this from the start, that this right here always stood out to me. Give me just a minute. Okay, now I'll go back to it. Not because I think there's some hidden clue in it, but this is the back of my uncle's card. As you all know, I chose the name Cold Case Crystal for my channel name because of his cold case. When I got these photos, this is the first thing that jumped out at me. CCC, and I know that that don't stand for Cold Case Crystal, but it was kind of a little sign to me. It made me feel better. And then the math is math, and in this, no, it don't math. They can't even. I mean, yeah, you've got Jean that told several different stories. You got her son that was up there, and for some reason, their word becomes gospel as to who pulled the trigger. Why? Why was everybody not looked into? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And then 37 years later, here they are. They act like, well, they thought they got the right person the first time. So just because they made a mistake, because in his first trial, he was found guilty. It was because of a technicality of a jury member that he got a second trial and he walked. And then double jeopardy stopped him from being tried again. It didn't stop the other two that was up there. Their words was just took like deacons. They said it. It must be true. Marlo must have been the one that done it. Let's go after him. Case closed. And because they thought they got their man, they never tried nobody else. The rush to judgment. But I'll tell you this. I do believe that they saw some of these episodes of his case. I really think they have. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Normally, state police don't send you documents you don't ask for months later. I wouldn't have known anything else. This is why I don't do small towns, because, baby, these backwoods sheriffs be half-assing doing it. You know, I get that. I really do. Chico, I get that 100%. But you know what kills me? They wouldn't even let the backwoods sheriffs up here to investigate him. The county, what we see in all these other cases, oh, we got to let the county decide for the state to take over. No. State come in the first thing. There's not a county officer that was on that cemetery. It was all state. The only person from the county was the coroner. We don't see that. You don't see that in cases. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is sus. To me, it's sus as it can be. State, for one, just come in and take over. We didn't even see the state take over when we had the I-75 shooter in Laurel County, you all. Think about it. KSP, same police post, did not take over the case from Jump Street on that. But they did in this one. But in Laurel County, they let the sheriff's office. And they just assisted. Let that sink in. And of course, in 1987, they didn't expect people to be able to get FOIA requests. And they sure wasn't counting on a niece that wasn't letting it go. They wasn't expecting that either. But my uncle, he didn't get justice. His daughter don't have answers. His grandkids don't have answers. His sons don't have no answers. The majority of the people in this case is dead now. Well, what happened to Mr. Johnson, y'all may ask? Well, as of a couple years ago, where he's at now, I don't know. But as of a couple years ago, he was fixing to go to trial for murder. Or attempted murder, rather. And there's some politics that needs to be addressed. It just pushes local law enforcement. Is a problem. Yeah, I think it's all a problem. I think from Jump Street they dropped the ball on my uncle's case. They botched it from out of the gate. Was he perfect? Was he a saint? Nope. But he did not deserve to be murdered. You going to steal a marijuana patch, but you ain't going to take no lights? You were so scared that you are going to run off that cemetery and flag down the first person. First off, let me just show you all something right quick. This is the road. Okay. I'll leave y'all with this thought here. Right here, right through here, is the top of that cemetery. Okay. Now keep in mind what her original story was. She ran off that mountain, and shoot, this ain't some old pictures here either. Come on, Google, car start. I broke down on the side of the road, y'all. It ain't wanting to move. But go. This road right here, if you look, there is no such thing as a doggone street light, okay? Not a one. Now you imagine this right here wasn't even blacktop. This is now, y'all. You're looking at now. This back in 87, this road right here was dirt. And she's trying to say that at like 15 till 12 in the night, she came off this cemetery and caught a ride with first passerby, and they took her to her son's house. I have said this before. I don't even know why she thought that would be believable. You see how this road is right here. Do you think? And right here it is. Here's the bottom of the cemetery right here. This is what I'm driving down in the Google car on the other side. But shoot, let's look here. Do y'all think you're going to run into anybody? You're not. If I broke down there without the snow on the ground outside you all, I'm here to tell you that I'm not getting a ride 9 times out of 10. I'm not doing it. Where am I? Here I am. Absolutely not like local law enforcement, but no more in the county and they're a resident. So if I was the county, I would have the locals handle it unless they asked for my help. But that's just me. Watch out for past another Google course. And yeah, Chico, that's the way it should have been done. That's the way this case should have been done, but it wasn't. Let's see here. And yes, I know you all, I get a little, it seems like aggravated, but this case hits so close to me. It's my uncle. It's a little bit hard to keep my feelings out of it. But the one thing I will do is I'll keep my speculation out of it. I can tell you it kind of looks like here. This don't look right, or that don't look right. But I didn't even start covering this case till I got FOIAs. Something that showed facts. Now, I appreciate everybody for being here. If you're not caught up on this case, I ask you to share it out or cover it. You can use any of my videos. You'll never get struck. I am not worried about none of that, as long as it's done with dignity. But share it. Tell somebody. Because like I said before, I may not get justice in this case, but if there is any truth to the internet, it will forever be out there for people to know that justice was not served. Keep doing what you do and getting justice through Uncle Bob. Oh, I will. Until the last testimony, I will. Next Saturday, I'm probably going to go over Jeff's transcripts. I read what I found in Chuck's that don't make sense to me. And to anybody that has been watching this case, you all know it don't make sense either. You've got two state troopers, and their notes don't even match up, you all. Their notes don't even match up. But I ask you, how many times have you ever saw somebody send extra sheets to a FOIA? It floored me. I saw it when I was trying to go through my emails right before I did this live, and I was like, Michelle, this has floored me. Because in my opinion, it's a game changer if that vehicle was in front. Everybody up there knew who pulled that trigger. I love y'all. I appreciate you for being here. Put hearts for Uncle Ball in chat. Red's already the right color. And remember, it takes 0 effort to be a good human being. We've got to actually try to be a bad one. Till next time.